హలో హాయ్ వెల్కమ్ టు గ్రేస్ అన్ఫిల్టర్డ్. దిస్ ఇస్ గ్రేస్. ఎక్కడి నుంచి స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి అంటే నా లైఫ్లో కొన్ని విషయాలు చాలా 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 ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఆ ఇంపార్టెంట్ విషయాల్లో దెర్ సమ్వన్ హూ ఇస్ వెరీ 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 స్పెషల్ టు మీ, టు మై ఫ్యామిలీ, టు ఆల్ యూ గైస్ హూ ఆర్ లిస్నింగ్. ఎందుకంటే ఇవాళ మీరు ఎవరినైతే చూడబోతున్నారో ఐ నో దిస్ గాయ్, ఐ నో దిస్ పర్సన్. నేను తరచుగా తిన వీడియోస్ చూస్తూ ఉంటాను. ఎస్పెషలీ యానిమల్స్ గురించి బాగా చెప్తారు. ఎస్పెషలీ డాగ్స్ దగ్గరకు వచ్చేసరికి హీ ఈజ్ ఇట్ అన్న ఫీలింగ్. అరే బోర్డింగ్ అంటారా, మై బేబీ వెంట్ దేర్. గ్రూమింగ్ అంటారా, మై బేబీ వెంట్ దేర్. అరే వాళ్ళ దాంట్లో ఫుడ్ పెడతారు, టూ కూడా ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఇవన్నిటికీ కూడా దేర్ ఇస్ వన్ బ్యూటిఫుల్ వరల్డ్ దట్ వన్ హ్యాస్ క్రియేటెడ్ రైట్ ఫ్రమ్ ద స్క్రాచ్. వాట్ హ్యాపెండ్ ఏంటి అని నేను చెప్పే కన్నా, యాజ్ అ ఫ్రెండ్, యాజ్ సమ్మన్ హూ ఇస్ వెరీ క్లోజ్ అండ్ ఫ్యామిలీ టు మీ, వీ హ్యావ్ సమ్మన్ వెరీ 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 బియాండ్ ద థాట్, బియాండ్ ద ఇమాజినేషన్. వీ హ్యావ్ ప్రోగ్రెసివ్ Canine founder మిస్టర్ చంద్రశేఖర్ మంత్రవాది. చంద్ర, ఈ సైడ్ ఆఫ్ మీ ఎప్పుడైనా చూసినారా?
ఇట్లా చైర్ మీద ఇంత ఫార్మల్గా లేకపోతే I don't think so.
But firstly, thank you so much. After a 1 month of follow-up, 1 month of constant rigorous follow-up, thank you for agreeing to do a podcast with me.
Thank you so
much. It's not easy to get this man on a call, on camera. Ante very very busy. Tana empire create chesukodamlo is way too busy. But Chandra, I know a little much about you, a little more about you. I'm a very personal friend, but professionally, you're like a big salute to you. But could you please, help us to understand you a little more better?
You mean to say what I don't?
Aastil raయించుకోను, ఆస్తులు రాయించుకోను, బ్లాంక్ పేపర్స్ చుట్టుపక్కల కూడా కనిపించదు. బట్ want to know more about you, so I would be needing your permission because Grace Unfiltered lo adi all unfiltered stuff e nadustadi kabatti we talk a lot more than life. So starting lo nunchi starting cheste, tell me something that why did you choose to be what you want to be today?
ఇది ఎక్కడ where it started ante there was a friend's dog. I was not so interested or like not so fascinated about dogs. Elna, he had a Dalmatian, then I was interacting with him, he was just playful. As soon as I turned around, like he actually bit me on my hand. So I just was trying to understand like why, like almost from a behavior where he was actually playing with me, and suddenly I turned around and he bit me very bad. And I could see like after that he was very aggressive. So I just wanted to understand like why it happened, like what happened. That's where it all started for me. Slowly it like I started understanding, trying to meet people, trying to talk to people, trying to get some information. Where I started about 20 years ago, there was no internet, right? Like yeah. So it's mostly to do with action, mostly to do with like trying to understand, like observation, because I believe that is the core for anything that Absolutely. We do, or anyone does anything, right? So yeah, that's where it started, and it's much more than dogs. It's much more of a deeper subject rather than just talking about like, okay, I love dogs and I want to do that. No, for me it is much more than that. It is trying to understand the pet, trying to see what he's thinking. That actually led me to doing whatever I'm doing currently today.
Usually this is a human mindset that when a dog is trying to attack you or trying to bite you, you don't see how are they brought up or their behavior, or you don't get too much into their psyche, right? You see that a dog bit me, right? And from there a lot of things happens. So social paranga, or mental paranga, physical paranga, there are a lot of changes that happens, especially with our behavior towards another dog. But usually when a dog bites, you don't want to go there, but you felt like a need to understand the reason behind it.
Yeah.
Right? And when you understood, were there a time where you went and spoke to your friend, try to understand how did this happen? Did you ever try to understand? And that's when you wanted to be...
One, definitely I was scared as much as anyone is once the dog bites, right? So once I went back, then I started thinking about like why this happened. Like ఎందుకంటే he was all playful and suddenly turned around to bite me. Like he actually bit me, like, you know, that like the still mark here. This is the one, right? So it is still there. It's like a permanent tattoo on me, on where I started, you know, where I am today, right?
Correct.
So I definitely had a lot of thought around it, and that's what, like, I started interacting with breeders, a lot of other trainers whom wherever I could connect with a lot of people back then. No one gave a right information about, like, you know, this is the solution, or this is the like, you know, something around why it happened.
Correct.
So, and not just that, like, when I started talking around, like, I started getting in touch with the German Shepherd breeder. Then I knew about German Shepherds. Then I thought, like, let me take it up as a business. I started breeding. That did not work. You know, then there was a pseudo pregnancy, and then some puppies who were born, like, you know, they were dead when they came out. So it was and at that point of time, it was a huge dent on me, because then I did not have any money back then. Appudu, then I got back. Then I understood that, okay, training law, at least investment is all about learning. It's all about, like, how you can implement something with your own effort.
Correct.
Right? ఇప్పుడు ఒకవేళ డాగ్స్ తీసుకొని పెట్టుకున్నాం, ఆ టైంలో I didn't even want to, I couldn't afford to own a dog. So my dad was funding me with whatever he can. Like, he was a railway employee, he was a government employee. So 20 years ago, like, you know how things were, right? Like, you know, he was earning about 20,000 rupees salary, and then he was managing 3 kids with a big family. You know, my grandfather, my grandmothers, you know, all of them were there. But then, yeah, he did whatever he could. I'm glad that he supported me at that point of time. He never stopped me from doing that, though. He always kept saying, like, what are you doing? But then, like, I very well knew that I wanted to do that. So yeah, that's where it definitely had the kind of thought process that has to be created around this, right?
Correct. So we want to leak a story of yours to all those who are watching us today. Can I? With your permission.
I don't know what it is, but yeah.
I heard it from few of your friends and family that you snuck the dog into your house, took care of that puppy, and nobody in the house even knew about it. I can't even get a shopping bag into our house without nobody knowing it. You just bought a pup. Oh my God, what madness is this?
Right.
What is this? Want to know everything about this right now.
Yeah, to some extent, I already learned up about training back then. So when I bought my first beagle, like, beagles basically howl, like, you know, when they want attention or they want something. You know, they howl a lot.
Cute
like, so,
mischief. Correct.
what I learned is, you know, managing their energy is one of the most important thing. When I'm saying energy, it is more to do with how they output their behavior, right? So usually beagles are very independent. They just run around the house, they tear up things, you know, all that stuff. So because I have already learned up a lot about training, you know, what I used to do is I used to burn the dog's energy, like, way back in the morning, like early morning I used to wake up, burn the dog's energy, come back. My grandfather, he did not allow the dog in the house. When I told him first that I'll get a dog, he was like, you know, either I stay in the house or the dog. But I couldn't withhold myself. Then I thought, like, no, let me go ahead and bring it.
Wow. Wow.
పొద్దునే ఎనర్జీ బర్నింగ్ చేసేసి దెన్ ఆయన వెళ్ళిపోయిన తర్వాత ఆయన అప్పుడు లేవర్ కదా. సో వాట్ ఐ డిడ్ ఇస్ ఐ బర్న్ ద డాగ్ ఎనర్జీ, దెన్ ఐ కమ్ బ్యాక్, లైక్ వెన్ హీఈస్ లైక్ ఆల్ త్రూ ద డే, లైక్ ఫ్రమ్ ద డే పూజ అది దెన్ వీఆర్ తెలుగు బ్రాహ్మిన్, సో దట్స్ ఆల్సో అనదర్ థింగ్, రైట్? సో దెన్ హీ యూస్ టు హ్యావ్ హిజ్ ఓన్ రొటీన్. అయిపోయిన తర్వాత ఆయన మళ్ళీ లంచ్ చేసేసి దెన్ హీ యూస్ టు గో ఫర్ స్లీప్. దెన్ ఐ యూస్ టు టేక్ మై డాగ్ అవుట్ ఫర్ అ వాక్ అండ్ యూ నో దట్ అగైన్. దెన్ అగైన్ హీ యూస్ టు స్లీప్, రైట్? ఆ టైంలో మళ్ళీ తీసుకెళ్ళడము అంత, దెన్ అగైన్ మళ్ళీ లోపల పెట్టేసేయడం, మళ్ళీ అగైన్ నైట్ టైం వన్స్ ఆఫ్టర్ స్లీప్ ఫ్రమ్ అలా చాలా రోజులు నడిచింది. హీ నెవర్ న్యూ. మై రూమ్ వాజ్ రైట్ నెక్స్ట్ టు హిస్ రూమ్, రైట్? సో హీ నెవర్ న్యూ దేర్ వాజ్ ఎ డాగ్ ఇన్ ద హౌస్ బికాజ్ ఐ యూస్ టు బర్న్ ఎనర్జీ.
పెరుగుతుంది తెలుసా?
But somehow I figured it out. I understood, like, what I want, right? I definitely wanted a dog. ఎలాగైనా సరే దాన్ని పెట్టాలి ఇంట్లో. I love dogs. I wanted to train her, like, I want to compete with her and whatever, like, you know. Then ఇంకా పెట్టాలి కాబట్టి నేను ఇంకా I figured out the way. Then after a few months, one day I forgot to lock my room.
How many months was that?
The puppy came when she was about, like, 2.5 months, and from then till almost, like, I think 6 months plus, I think somewhere between 6 and 7 months. My grandfather, actually, I forgot to lock my door, and then no one was there in the house. It's a 2-floor building. So what he does is, one evening he was watering all the plants. Suddenly he opened the door on the first floor. That dog came out running, like, he was all around on the floor, ikkada, like, then I think almost 1.5 hours అయిపోయింది. And as I was entering the gate, my grandfather was sitting on a stool with all his feet up on the stool. And suddenly I see the dog coming running off the stairs. Then I've seen a little bit of water on her head. Then I knew it was something happened. And then తీసుకెళ్ళాను పెట్టేశాను. I was like freaked out. I did not know what to do. And
how old were you then?
I was, this was in 2008.
You were very young then.
Yeah, very young. But somehow I developed the guts to have a dog at home. Because I knew that is exactly what I wanted, right?
So, water unde.
Then, sir, then పట్టుకొని రూమ్లోకి తీసుకెళ్ళిన తర్వాత then his face was all red, like, you know. And he asked me, like, ఎప్పుడు తీసుకొచ్చిన డాగ్ నేను చెప్పలేదు, నేను చెప్పాను కానీ నీకు వద్దని చెప్పి అంటే నేను said 6 months అయిందంటే he was shocked. He said, like, 6 months and I did not even know. And I said, like, this is what I do. Never told you, but this is my profession. Then he was like, then he started asking me a lot of questions about it because he was very curious, like 6 months dog like vetti. So he's a person who teaches Bhagavad Gita to people for free in my community, in the area where I stayed. So he's a person who is very curious. He wants to know things. The moment he came to know about this, then he was like, hey, ela dachipettoda ani cheppi. Then I said, like, you know, dog is there for 6 months. This is what I've been doing. I've done a lot of research even before I came and asked you that I want to get a dog. It's not just because I went in the flow and brought a dog. ఏదో అందరూ అనుకున్నట్టునే ఏదో డాగ్ని తెచ్చేసుకోవాలి, పెట్టేసుకోవాలి, ఆడుకుంటాం కొంతసేపు, మళ్ళీ తీసుకెళ్ళి ఇంట్లో వదిలేస్తాం, ఇలా కాదు. I knew that I wanted a dog and I will take care of the dog. So all he said, after hearing over 30-35 minutes conversation అయిన తర్వాత, then he said, whatever you do, I know that ఇంత నువ్వు చేసిన తర్వాత కూడా I know how deeply you wanted this. You want this. All you do is save money for yourself. Whatever you do, just save money. That's one thing which he always told.
And you had that fellow with you?
Yeah, for a very long time. I think 2011 she passed away with some kidney issue. But yeah, she has a very good life.
What's her name?
Her name is Peach.
Peach.
Yeah, she was a female beagle.
Oh my God. Inta beautiful thing. Thank you so much for opening it up with us, Nijanga. This is one of the most emotional yet the first moments that you had. For sure. But Chandra, as while we talk about dogs, you know, people understand dogs as a very different perspective. Maybe, you know, dog as an ante. They're just one kind of a dog. Like dogs are same. They sit, they wag tails, they're hungry, they bark, or they just sulk, you know, when they're left. So this is what they see, the behavior of a dog. But as I am someone who grew up in a family where we've had somewhere close to 16 dogs at a time, till now I'm having 3 dogs, right? It's a transition. Like all my cousins, we all grew up with dogs. All family grew up with dogs. To be very honest, like the friends that I have are also having dogs. Right. So our circle is different.
Yeah, it's an aura that we create around us, right? So obviously, I think we select whom we want to be with.
Absolutely. So and even the conversation on the table is always about
vibe. It's more to do with the vibe. It just gets along. Like more, I think I just said like selection, Ani. But I think it's just the vibe. You just keep getting along with the vibe.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we talk, my cousin undi, dan daggara husky undi, and then she has a idi Belgian Malinois. Now I have 2 mastiffs and a Indie. Right now you have Indies. You also have Indies. You also have Belgiums.
All breeds.
You have all kinds. Yeah. And then lot of them have and different kinds of breeds or different kinds of you know. We call them breeds because it's like, you know, okay, nenu idi nu vadi and manam etlaithe cheppukuntamena human kind. I think they also are like that is what I feel, right?
Yes.
And the temperament are different. The way they are is different. వాళ్ళు లైఫ్ స్పాన్స్ వేరేగా ఉంటాయి, వాళ్ళ క్వాలిటీ వేరేగా ఉంటుంది, క్వాలిటీ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ వేరేగా ఉంటుంది, వాళ్ళ ఫుడ్ ఇంటేక్ వేరేగా ఉంటుంది. అది చాలా మందికి తెలీదు.
కరెక్ట్,
రైట్? నా దగ్గర ల్యాబ్ ఉంది, అది ఎప్పుడు లావుగానే ఉంటుంది బికాజ్ ఇట్స్ అ లేజీ డాగ్. నా దగ్గర మాస్టిఫ్ ఉంది, అది లైక్ హ్యూజ్ ఫెలో, అందరు భయపడతారు, బట్ అది చాలా అగ్రెసివ్ డాగ్. అంటే they have this perception. So the reason why I want you to be a part of this Grace Unfiltered podcast is, especially from Progressive Canines, is that I want people to understand that mana chetikunna ee velu etlagayithe different ga undo, dog breeds vaala temperaments kuda ante different ani. Right. Could you please help us to understand about this? Because being a behavioralist, being someone who practice, learn, teach and also learn from everything that you do, this is way important in today's generation is what I feel. Could you please help us understand this?
So one couple of things before anyone could get a pet. first of all, they should feel responsible. Without that, you can never do anything for anyone, right? Like, you know, they should own it. They should learn to respect what they have. And then once, and it is not a solo decision. Like, you know, once a pet is coming into the family, right? It is more to do with every member in the family. Because oka pet ni తీసుకున్నప్పుడు, like my grandfather, like if you correctly, he never want to interact with the dog, right? So he's okay now. After knowing what I was doing, he said, like, okay, this particular portion of the dog being inside the house, you have taken care of it. Hence he was okay with it.
Yeah, correct.
Like, let's say for example, if he was not okay with, like, even the dog being in the house, after 6 months, even when he realized I had to take the dog off the house, right? So he accepted it, which means it is not just a single person who thinks about the dog, it's the family or the environment who accepts that, okay, this dog has to be there. It's extremely important, right?
Very important.
So that said, the next thing is, now you understand, like, what kind of a time that you are going to have on your side. Let's say for example, there are some dogs like pugs, they don't have a lot of energy, right? Like, they play for like 5-10 minutes here and there. But on top of that, like, they're basically kind of a dog who don't exhibit a lot of energy. Right. So for a person who cannot give time to the dog, who cannot have an active lifestyle, they can have a dog, some breed like that, right?
Correct.
So Indies, a lot of people bring Indies. Absolutely love the concept that they want to give a life to a dog who has been just going around the street. They believe that they're doing something good, but then here where the problem starts. When a dog comes into the family, they also have energies, like they have some needs and wants. Absolutely. Basically, they are scavengers. If you see that they want to go around the street, they try to find their own food. They fight through people, like someone pelting stones, someone hitting with stakes, someone scaring them off. Through that, they live out of fear.
Yeah.
Fear is the most important thing that they live through, right? So that is another part. And so you also have to understand that when I'm describing about these dogs, their characteristics, like, you know, they have something or the other traits which is inbuilt in them, right? So getting a dog like that into the family, or even for example, let's take a Belgian Malinois for example. They have loads of energy, right? They're very social. They are actually a nervous breed, but that nervousness and fear is actually put into building a confident dog, right?
Oh.
So that's how they do whatever they're doing. Without an instinct of fear, no living being on earth can do anything for that matter.
I agree.
They need to have fear, and through that they will develop confidence.
Correct.
So this is what has to happen. And then when you're talking about breeds, you have to select, like, what kind of energy that you want into the house. Do you have an active lifestyle? If you have an active lifestyle, can you give that kind of a time to the pet to cater? Like, let's say for example, you have to take the dog for a very long walk, or you have to play with them 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You should be able to do that. If people do not have time, or an individual in the family do not have time, don't bring the dog in the first place. I would not recommend it, right? So the entire family has to accept, once they come in, after they getting the pup into the pup or a dog into the family, they need to figure out, like, what is the kind of lifestyle they're going to have around pet. What is the lifestyle that the pet should have? What is the needs and want of each pet?
Yeah, that
right?
makes more sense.
Yeah, so because it is not just about you. It is
Correct.
like we have a thought, dogs cannot speak for themselves. Like, we have to speak for them, right? So you need to understand that the dog also has needs. So for that, which you need to have some awareness about how you need to raise a dog.
Correct.
So there is some thing that some kind of a research that you need to do, or talk to some professional on what is that required for a dog to come into the house.
Absolutely.
Without this knowledge, you directly go bring it to the house. The dog was already making a mistake. You don't understand. There's a misconnect, right? Like, the dog doesn't understand your language. The dog doesn't understand your situation. There are some puppies who do not want to walk on the stairs. They are not happy walking down the stairs, up the stairs. They're very scared. They don't know the human life, right? So it takes some time for whether the dog or the human being to understand each other.
Correct.
So you already need to have some kind of a research done on this, and then you bring the pet inside the house. So you are kind of prepared for it.
Correct.
Now on top of this, again, like in human life, we also go through a lot of changes, right? మనం అనుకున్నది అంతా మనకి లైఫ్లో దొరకదు, రైట్? సో డాగ్కి అలా కావాలి మీకు. ఓకే, మీరు అన్ని రీసెర్చ్ అంతా చేసిన తర్వాత కూడా, ఇఫ్ యూ బ్రింగ్ ఎ డాగ్ ఇన్ టు ద హౌస్, వీ డోంట్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ ద డాగ్ టు లివ్ అప్ టు దట్ ఎక్స్పెక్టేషన్ ఆల్ ద టైమ్. Based on scenarios, based on situations, dogs also change. So, a change అయినప్పుడు, what kind of ideology or the thought process that you need to have to be able to cater to that, right? So that is very important. అది ఎలా రియాక్ట్ అవుతాం, ఎవ్రీ డాగ్ చూపించే ప్రతి యాక్షన్కి మనకంటూ ఒక రియాక్షన్ ఉంటుంది. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ సేయింగ్ రియాక్షన్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ లైక్, బీ వెరీ హార్ష్ టువర్డ్స్ ద డాగ్, బట్ యూ నీడ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ ఇట్.
Absolutely, I agree on that. Since we're talking about how a dog gets kind of adjusted into the house, and also in the same scenario, how a dog I've read it somewhere, Chandra. I don't know if it is just a saying or if it is true, that the puppy or the dog that comes into our life, that not just changes our life, but also try to adapt our life.
Absolutely.
Right? So they'll become water all of a sudden from
Correct.
dog. Like for an instant, I must tell you about Brutus.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Brutus from Progressive Canine. So he's been in Progressive for a
Lovely
very
fellow.
long.
He's a
I know.
handsome, lovely fellow.
I love my son Brutus. So as I've said that I have 3 dogs. మీరు అందరు చూసే ఉంటారు. Diesel my first son, Brutus my second, Joey is my third. అయితే Brutus నేను Diesel ని Progressive Canine బోర్డింగ్ లో వేయడానికి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు ద థాట్ ఆఫ్ నేను నా జీవితంలో ఇన్ని ఇయర్స్ నేను డీజిల్ లేకుండా ఎప్పుడు నిద్రపోలేదు. వాడిని ఒక్కరోజు కూడా నేను మిస్ అవ్వలేను అన్న భయం. లైక్ యూనో యూ హ్యావ్ టు కన్వర్ట్ యువర్ ఫియర్ ఇంటూ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్. Okay, that fear turned into confidence when I saw Brutus. One of my cousins wanted to come adopt a dog from Progressive. Then Brutus came in. The moment I saw him, it's like love at first sight. And all the sights, every day in the morning, it's a love at first sight with Brutus for me. So he's a very well behaved, trained dog. వాడు ఎంత స్వీటెస్ట్ ఫెలో అంటే ఐ జస్ట్ కాంట్ టెల్ యూ.
ఇన్ఫాక్ట్ దేర్ ఇస్ అ లిటిల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ అబౌట్ ద డాగ్. లైక్ మా దగ్గర ట్రైనింగ్ వచ్చాడు వాడు. పెట్ పేరెంట్ ఫర్ వాట్ ఎవర్ రీజన్ హీ కుడెంట్ టేక్ ద డాగ్ బ్యాక్, అండ్ దెన్ వీ టుక్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ హిమ్ ఫర్ వెరీ లాంగ్ టైమ్. We were actually wanting to give him to a family who could actually love him, give him that time, and then rest is all we know. Right.
But understanding a dog coming from a home is different. Coming from a like place like Progressive Canine is different, is what I understood. Because Joey, we've adopted him from a home. Then Diesel, we've adopted him from another place. But Brutus coming from Progressive Canine is very well trained. Sometimes it gets very difficult for us to catch up his level of energy, his level of discipline also is way too disciplined. Ante I used to think that oka dog ki eda nerpiyali anante it's always about sit, stand, down.
Right.
No. బట్ బ్రూటస్ ఇస్ వే బియాండ్ ఇట్. వాడు అన్ని చేస్తాడు. వాడు అంటే ప్లేస్ అంటే కార్లోకి వెళ్ళి కూర్చుంటాడు, డౌన్ అంటే బయటకు వచ్చేస్తాడు. ఇట్ హాస్ సో మెనీ థింగ్స్.
అండ్ ఐ థింక్ ఫ్రమ్ I think you missed a few points. It is more to do with the understanding that you develop, right? We were talking about it a few days ago. You were saying that if you Gautam basically because of the issue that he has. Maybe you can mention about it. Yeah.
So my husband, he cannot hear. So his hearing capacity as while he was growing, it came down. So his partially he can't hear. అయితే అన్న సిచ్యువేషన్ లైక్ దాట్ even if I call my husband, tanu vinpichukoledu because he have to wear on his machines, or sometimes without machines it's impossible. In situations like that, when I bought Brutus in, at first ఏం చేస్తాడంటే try to read our faces. ఎందుకు అమ్మ ఎందుకు నాన్న ఎన్నిసార్లు బిరుస్తుంది, ఎందుకైనా నాన్న తిరగట్లేదు. సో సమ్టైమ్స్ బికాస్ వెన్ హీ డజంట్ హ్యావ్ మిషన్స్ హీ టెన్ టు స్పీక్ అ లిటిల్ లౌడర్ బికాస్ హీ డజంట్ గెట్ అ రీకాల్ ఇన్ టు హిస్ హెడ్. సో అట్లాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్స్లో అవన్నీ వాడు అబ్జర్వ్ చేసి ఐమ్ నాట్ లయింగ్ టు యూ చంద్ర, ఐ కెన్ సెండ్ యూ సమ్ వీడియోస్ టు యువర్ క్రాస్. He made this point that okay, when Amma calls, Nana is not looking at Amma. His job is to go call his Nana. He gives his paw, he'll just try to get on him and bring him out of a place to show that your wife is calling. Okay, and when Gautam is looking at Brutus and still he's not able to figure it out that I'm calling, he'll just look at his face, he'll just do this and start barking.
Yeah.
That's when he looks at me and says that what?
Right.
He knows that okay, this guy is a point of contact, and not just this, his territorial is crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's so many incidences that happened where I will talk about it much later during our interviews, because there is more than a practice or more than what we have in the house also. Right. Our energies also go to the kids. Kada, like antar kada, when they're 4
the family which you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Right.
I heard a doctor telling this, that when a family of 4 eats a lot during the day, the family ends up having obesity, that family ends up having diabetes, and ends up having so many things, even healthier lifestyle, everything also. I think this is the same kind of energy what we give to these fur babies also, is what I believe. What do you say on that?
No, it's absolutely right. Like it's like you're shaping your kid's life. When we have a kid in the family, right? So he grows around the behavior that we have created. It doesn't necessarily have to be you teach them something or talk to them and explain them something. It has got more to do with the observations. Like they just look at us and learn a lot of things,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And then on top of that, if the learning ability is created, so they observe, they learn, they understand, and then they exhibit behavior. Then you teach them something. So that's how it is. Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense into why we have one ani. We all know that dogs anagane companions for life.
Yes.
Ante dani life varaku, not our life exactly. Oh, there were seasons, there were reasons, there were times where we cry when we lose them, because it becomes part of a life. I have tattoos of them as a memory on my body. You have one on your
tattoo,
body.
yes.
Ante we are two. Mana lives lo, this is one part what we engrave it.
Right.
Knowingly, unknowingly. That's always there. My mom never liked dogs. But tan pelli cheskunde kukkal intlo. This is what my mom said. I got married into the house of dogs. Like your father used to cook. While my father was...
And you have so many around you. Like it's not just the dogs, it's also the cats.
Cats. I have like 12 cats in the house,
Yeah.
man. My house is a crazy vibe place. You guys can just
You
walk
can call
in
it a
anywhere.
sanctuary.
Sanctuary, yeah. I love that. But all my friends also would love to, come around, stay around, play.
Right.
It's like, okay, play date untadi వాళ్ళతోటి. It's fun. But,
Right.
Trying to understand a little more better about dogs. ఒక companionship దగ్గర నుంచి it went into security.
Right.
అంటే you can see the difference, right? Companion అంటే ఏంటి, మన తినిపియడం, as you
Correct.
said that, తినిపియడం, బయటకు తీసుకొని పోవడం, giving energy, trying to understand the dog, నుంచి went into security. Like back then seeing ఒక పోలీస్ వాళ్ళు వస్తున్నారంటే వాళ్ళతో పాటు ఒక డాగ్ రావడం ఇస్ అ బిగ్ థింగ్ ఫర్ అస్. ఇట్స్ లైక్ ద డాగ్ సాల్వ్స్ ద ప్రాబ్లమ్. అంటే అంత నమ్మకం, దే వెరీ ఫేత్ఫుల్, దే వెరీ లాయల్, ట్రస్ట్. And then later it went to border security force, then it went into big houses, then it went into corporate world. These are growing, they are evolving, chappalante. And progressive canine has successfully launched themselves, not now, ninna monna kaadu, from day one. You've catered, progressive canine catered into these parts of life too. Could you please help us to understand more on this?
So like it ended at that grandfather's phase where like I had a dog, and then my thirst for knowledge to understand more about dogs, it day by day it just kept growing, and it just becoming deeper and deeper. So when we spoke about like the basic of a pet parenting, or like whatever we can call it, so as I started getting into it, like where I started watching videos or some trainers like trying to talk about protection dog training and all that, like I got in touch with like best of the people around the world.
Lovely.
Especially who are into dog training, and then their way of training dogs. So then I understood that it is not just about pet parenting and like the problems that we deal at home, but the things that you mentioned, like there is explosive detection dogs, narcotic detection dogs, air scenting, like you have these crime scene investigation dogs are used in forensics, like all those things, right? There is much more. So the day I started there, it did not end there, like it like, because I wanted to understand the subject deeper. And then I also have done like appeared for the international competitions. I won many competitions. So for me, so the best part about doing all this is getting the best of the dog. Like I can actually see a dog and tell them how they have been trained, or like what kind of raising the dog had. So if they are not confident, what kind of, is it a genetic problem, or is it something created? It's a learnt behavior. So I try to test my knowledge, which is why I go to the international competitions and test my dog, and then I come back and see like, okay, maybe we need to make like tweaking some changes in the way I approach dogs, right? That's how I started evolving with learning bigger things about dog training and implementing it back at pet parents' life.
Who's your we all have a role models some or the other time, or while we are working, or when we reach a point. Do you have any role model? Do you look up to someone who you feel like,
there are different in different segments. There are different, like for example, when you're talking about basic training,
correct,
and then there is behavior modification, there is explosive, there is narcotic detection training, and patrol dogs. All these, like I definitely have a lot of people. Like so this is what I like. If you are sticking to, of course there are different. I don't remember. I've definitely attended a lot of dog training courses, not like a lengthy ones, but today we have a system in progressive that we follow, a method that we follow. But when and where, as a person who leads the organization, I try to understand a lot of things. Like one trainer is doing something, okay, this dog is looking good, like why? I would like to understand. I like to go back to his videos and see. It cannot be the person who's the best in the industry. It could be like someone who's like just started even handling dogs. there's a lot of things that you can get to learn from them, right? Like, so
Something
your
new.
observation, your learning has to be always open. I'm not saying has to be a top guy to teach you something.
Correct.
But there can be a person who just like started handling dogs. Even that person can teach you something.
Right. And I'm sure there could be some situations where you learn from the previous mistakes. Because I have to mention this to you guys that I am a admirant, I'm a fan of Chandra for a reason, because not just handling dogs, teaching them or giving his best at PSA and the other international levels of dog training, and also showing and experiencing it. But I have to mention this. This is also a leak. I don't know if I can
I don't
tell
know
this
what
or
it is
later
now.
on, you know what it is. He learns from his mistakes. Usually, you know, most of them don't admire. They feel that, you know, whatever filtered is the last.
Yeah.
But there's something that, you know, I have seen him, and I've also had a conversation with him. He makes sure he records stuff. He makes sure he does everything in his head, on his you know, pen and paper, on the phone, and make sure that what happened. ఇది ఇట్లా చేస్తే ఎట్లుంటుంది, ఇది అట్లా అయి ఉంటే బాగుంటుంది, ఇది ఇట్లా అయి ఉంటే బాగుంటుంది, ఇది ఇట్లా కాకుండా ఇట్లా అయి ఉంటే బాగుంటుంది. See, all these things is what I feel that, you know, it makes any.
So
any
I would like to
moment.
talk a little more in detail on that. Like, you
Please.
know, you have a picture of a perfect dog,
Correct.
right? ఇది ఇలా బిహేవ్ చేయాలి, ఇది ఇలా ఉంటే బాగుంటుంది, right? So the moment you have those pictures in your mind, you always want to train your dog, like who like doesn't know anything about that particular aspect. You start training him, you start understanding, and then like, you know, everything, when you start going on the path, you always have some kind of a branching out.
Correct.
How do you get yourself back on the path? So that's exactly why I record my videos of whenever I train dogs. So we have a perfect picture, we have a goal. You have to start bringing those things back into the picture and say like, okay, now we have to go back on this path. Always make mistakes, it's fine. But when you don't look at this as a correction tool or something, right? Like, that's why I record videos, I said. So you start putting it back together, and then you walk back on the path, and that's when you reach your goal.
Right. So, as while you watch it, we want to take a small break. We are at Cliff Cafe. This is our venue partner for today, and we have a beautiful signature Cliff coffees as well for us. So, Chandra, what you're having today?
This is a cold coffee. I think caramel cold coffee. Yes.
So I'm having a cold coffee as well. So I'm having hazelnut. So as while we get deeper and dive into the hidden cafe in Madhapur 100 Feet Road, that's called as Cliff, you take a small break and come back, and we are right here waiting for you on Grace Unfiltered. This is Grace, and that's Chandra Shekar Mantravadi for you guys.